Pleasant good morning to everyone, and welcome once again to another edition of the Carlos Brown Show, heard exclusively right here on the Open Mic Broadcast Network and Spreaker.com. Guest menu looks like this. Head baseball coach at Jackson State University. First time getting a chance to visit with Coach Omar Johnson of Jackson State. He'll join me in hour number one. Following Coach Johnson will be Rod Walker of the New Orleans Advocate. He'll join me on today's show. Then in hour number two, usual guest, Coach Van Pettaway will join me. And then following Coach Pettaway will be Charles Edmond of the Alcorn State Radio Network. Here's what's trending on the Carlos Brown Show. The NCAA, they're in talks to hold their entire basketball tournament in Indianapolis. That is interesting in itself. It was scheduled the Final Four to be in Indianapolis, Indiana, but now the NCAA is in talks to hold the entire tournament in Indianapolis. And there won't be an HBCU annual trip to Dayton and a playing game of note. Speaking of basketball, Alabama State has decided to play a conference-only basketball schedule. Get your thoughts on that. Good plan, great plan, or average plan, or just smart? Alabama State to play conference-only basketball schedule. And I'll have a quote from the director of athletics at Alabama State. And then last but not least, Black College Football Hall of Fame class of 2021. It's done. Coy Bacon, Jackson State University. Greg Coleman, Florida A&M University. Jimmy Giles, Alcorn State University. Winston Hill, Texas Southern University. Ronell Young, Alcorn State University. And Willard Bailey, Virginia Union, Norfolk State, St. Paul, and Virginia Lynchburg. Coach Bailey, those are the inductees of 2021 Black College Hall of Fame. Also, this would have been rivalry week for most of you in college football and also in black college football. FAMU and Bethune-Cookman University, Florida Classic. I'm going to use the adjective the Soul Bowl. Jackson State and Alcorn State. I know some of you are saying, what if? What could have been? But the pandemic is still undefeated. The invisible enemy. Then, of course, this time next week, all of you would have had your Thanksgiving dinner. Then there was some college football to be played in normal times. Turkey Day Classic, the Bayou Classic. Very, very interesting. So we can kind of have a virtual prediction. How do you think those football games would go? Who would win? Who would lose in today's rivalry week? And I forgot to mention North Carolina A&T and North Carolina Central University. Yep. You can reach me via the Carlos Brown Show at gmail.com. Also, you can reach me if you got a question or comment. The Carlos Brown Show Facebook Messenger page. You can reach me that way as well. Also on Instagram, look up the Carlos Brown Show, franchise_show on Twitter as well. Coach Omar Johnson, Rod Walker, Coach Van Pettaway, Charles Edmond. I'm going to check in now, as always, with the producer of today's show, Dr. Prince. And for today, I'll call him Brother Prince. Brother Prince, good morning to you.
Good morning.
How you doing, sir?
I'm fine, my brother. How are you this morning?
I'm doing well. How about yourself?
Well, look, besides the unique start we had to do with today's show, I'm off to a pretty decent start, man.
Well, making adjustments sometimes.
Yes, adjust on the fly.
You have to do that. Yeah. And those who sometimes are successful, they can make adjustments.
Yes, sir.
And they don't have to wait to halftime.
There you go. But it's been pretty good, man. Interesting what's going on in the Big Easy, man, with your Saints and the quarterbacking situation. I know we'll talk about that later on with Brother Rod, but what are you feeling about that, man?
Well, just completely just blown away. You have several thoughts that are going through your mind, and you're right, Rod Walker of the New Orleans Advocate, and I'm going to get the latest information on the quarterback situation. Of course, Drew Brees, and I saw the play where he got injured, and you kind of had that feeling that down in your stomach, that didn't look good. I mean, the hit, just a tough hit as usual that you see throughout. Yeah, I have no problem with it, a clean hit. But when he fell and the guy fell on top of him, you can just see him didn't look well. But the shocking thing was when they did the MRI, they saw some other damage that had happened the week before against Tampa Bay. So, 5 fractured ribs, a collapsed lung, and, Drew Brees at 41 years of age.
Let's not forget the age, man. That's not a good feeling right now. It's difficult to breathe with
broken ribs. If you're 21, is bad, but at 41, the recovery time is not as swift. So, with that being said, that was a big part.
Yes, sir.
But then, yesterday, your cell phone just going off. It's like, what's going on? Well, they're reporting that Taysom Hill will get the start over Jameis Winston. And that was history. The rest of the day, just, you break out into text messages, discussions with different people about what the heck is going on. So we'll and all of that, and they have a good record, but man,
that's got to be disappointing if you're Jameis Winston, though.
Yeah,
I hope it's a ploy.
I would think
so. I
so.
hope it's a ploy. They're trying to get people thrown off, but I don't think they play like that in the NFL.
Well, Coach Payton is one that I've often said, if I had hair, I would pull it out because of him at times. An offensive guru, good coach, but sometimes I'm scratching my head with some of the, the play calling and being a gambler, a high roller gambler, and sometimes it has not helped the team out.
And the only thing I can think of, you go with Hill because maybe there's not much footage on him to prepare. If he has a bad series or two, they have a short leash on him and then replace him with Winston. That's all I can think.
And see, it's bad when you have to try to draw up a conclusion of why they're going with that. To me, in just my opinion, the safe bet, and I've had some people to disagree with me, already yesterday. For one, Winston came from Tampa Bay. Some people, believe it or not, they didn't like that. Then, two, he's had plenty of success in the league, but they bring up the interceptions that he tends to throw. So you have all of that, but experience and, Hill is a wild card. To me, he's more valuable at what he has done. Taysom Hill, what he has done and what he's done this year. So here's where it falls. It's going to fall on Sean Payton. The buck stops at the CEO of that football team.
Right.
If it works out, he's going to be thought of as a great decision.
Look,
If it backfires, then he's going to take the blame.
and I know that people are at arms with the 30 interceptions that Winston threw last year. But if you really go back and look at that, there were, I'm going to say, three factors that was going on with that. Not all those 30 interceptions were all on Winston. Okay, some of them receivers bobbled, dropped, or whatever. And then this guy couldn't see last year, man. His vision was that of a mole. And to throw 30 interceptions under those conditions, 30 touchdowns and interceptions under those conditions, 5,000 yards, wasn't it? Something like that. Come on, man. Give the dude some credit, and Peyton wouldn't have signed him if he didn't see any value in him, right?
I would think so.
I don't know.
It's just going to be interesting. Very interesting to see what happens with the whole situation. So maybe Rod Walker will have the latest on the New Orleans
maybe they'll have
Saints.
both of them lying healed up in the flats.
Well, they'll probably both play, but it's just interesting, that decision. But hey, the decision you make, you go with it. That's what you decided to do, and you will definitely live with the results. If you would like to join in, you can hit me up on the Carlos Brown Show at gmail.com, or you can give me a text. You can give me a question or comment via Facebook Messenger. Listener already wants to weigh in on the Alabama State situation. Carlos, Alabama State playing conference only schedule is smart, because with the NCAA foregoing the playing game, we won't be penalized for our out-of-conference schedule. And let me pull this up, because it was a quote from Jennifer Lynn Williams, and she basically said this was not an easy decision to make. While we understand that fans are ready to cheer on our basketball programs, the safety and well-being of our student athletes will always be at the forefront of any decision that we make. We have said from the outset of this pandemic that safety is the number one priority, and we will continue toward that goal. While we may not be playing in November, December, we will set our sights toward returning to the court in January to contend for 2 conference titles. I spoke with Charles Edmond yesterday, and I believe Alcorn games, a couple of them already, one was postponed. I think it was against DePaul in Chicago, and so you're gonna see these games get postponed. So I guess the question to all of you, had one listener, Marlon, who chimed in and basically said it was a good decision. How do you feel? I'll just put it that way. How do you feel with Alabama State now, men's and women's basketball teams, going to a conference-only schedule? Yay or nay? Thumbs up, thumbs down? I can't believe anybody would say a thumbs down, but I'm sure somebody put it this way: we'll have many that says thumbs down or it wasn't a good idea. But that's what Alabama State has decided to do, dealing with this pandemic. Then the NCAA says we're just going to have the whole basketball tournament in Indianapolis, Indiana. Thus, no play-in games. What do you think of that as well? Also, this would have been rivalry week for many of you. FAMU, would you have broken the losing streak against Bethune-Cookman University in the Florida Classic? Alcorn State, another victory over Jackson State. If all things were being equal, and no pandemic going on, could we look, or would we have seen Alcorn with another successful season up to this point and getting ready to go to another SWAC championship? They've been very successful.
This is fantasy. This is fantasy thinking, though, right?
Yeah, I guess you can put it that way, because those games are not taking place today because of the pandemic. But this kind of discussion, I'm sure you could probably put some numbers in a computer, and
no, I'd rather stick with
it'll spit out who would win, the percentages of who would likely have won the game. We don't have all of that. Now, I understand some people are just, wow, what if?
I think what if? I see my what if, of course, is going to be favorable toward my Panthers. This would have been a breakout season, and we would have had only one conference loss at this point.
That is interesting.
Now, I'll let you figure out who the conference loss would have been against.
No, it seems like we've been down this road before, once before. And I'm not going to fall for the okie doke. I'll just put it this way. We've seen the body of work, and every year is different. You know, a team could be 3-8 one year, then the next year they improve to 6-5. 7-4. The ball bounces here, not a turnover here. Maybe a freshman came in and had immediate impact. Maybe somebody improved who the previous year was second or third string. But then with a great offseason and some confidence, got into a ball game, led them down the field for a touchdown and won the football game. Now they are a different player.
That's what I'm leaning on.
We'll find out.
Just like the old Tootsie Roll commercial, the world
how it goes.
May never know.
Well, let's see. Jack is listening in, the basketball guru, and let's pull him up here in a second. Computer's moving a little slow today.
Maybe needs a shot.
Here we go. And I appreciate Jack. I don't think it's a thumbs up or a thumbs down. It's a decision they made based on their situation. I won't judge any other college program for a different choice. You're talking about Alabama State. Do you believe that there will be other situations where institutions will, in this conference, we'll just narrow it down, will any other institutions in this conference decide the same thing and decide to say it's best for us to just go with a conference-only schedule? Or will there be an institution that say, well, we'll have non-conference games, but it won't be that many?
I think you're going to have a blend of both, because what we still have to look at is that not all institutions are being transparent on A, how they're testing their student athletes, and B, reporting the actual numbers, not the names, but the numbers. And they play this little cat and mouse game. They say, well, we're not going to disclose how many kids or staff have tested positive because of HIPAA law. Well, the HIPAA law involves naming individuals, but you can give a number of individuals and they'll play that game. I believe a lot of institutions, and not just FCS or HBCU, but as a whole, they are not testing or can't afford to test like they should. So therefore, you get one case, it sets everything back for 2 weeks. One case. They're trying to litigate right now to reduce it from 2 weeks to 8 days. So the question is, could it be that Alabama State had some cases and they said, rather than going through all this hit or miss, let's just shut everything down to conference play? There are other conferences or schools in the conference that have had to shut down camps on a couple of occasions. So you never can tell 6 in one half and half a dozen the other.
Well, I can go back to last week and didn't give out the names, of course, or the numbers, but just Coach Wood said they've had to, with practice, they start, then you have to stop, then you have to go back. So one would know that they've had some situations or cases with players.
Mm-hmm.
And so we do know that, and we understand the privacy without naming players, but you could say, well, we've had this many cases so far. And so with Alabama State deciding to do that, say, hey, we're just going to go with a conference schedule only. Well, when you look at it, even with conference schedule only, you would believe, you hope that it wouldn't be, but come on, let's just be honest. There'll be chances that you'll have cases during the conference season.
Oh, no doubt.
So this whole thing is, some would say hit and miss. It is what it is. If Alabama State and others decided and say, hey, as a conference, and then when you look at it, also local jurisdiction will come in as far as, cases, what phase are you in, like in Louisiana, they were in phase 3, then there was a phase 2. As the cases, the numbers got better, then you kind of added, you go up a little bit. But now you're looking at surges all over the country. So if they decide not to have any sports at the end of the day and say, look, the safety of our student athletes and our staff and all that is so important, we're just going to not do anything. We'll just come back and look at this thing in the fall of 2021. You could understand that. I mean, this has never happened before, so it's not a set way of standards to go by. In the future, if you have something similar to this, then you can look back at this time and see how you were able to get through this. But boy, it's just a situation that you hope it just gets better. You definitely hope it gets better. So, with that being said, I thought someone else had a message for me. Yeah. The listener says, Carlos, didn't you say you would have taken the conference champion in the NCAA tournament? Word that another way to me. I'm not really understanding that. But if you want to join in on the conversation, you can do it several ways. The Carlos Brown Show at gmail.com. Send me a message, text message via the Facebook Messenger app. You can do that as well. Black College Football Hall of Fame. Now, I'm not going to ask you how many of you remember some of these players, but you should, depending on your age, you should know some of these players. Roynell Young, remember him very well. Alcorn State University. Coy Baker, not as familiar, to be honest with you. Jackson State University. Greg Coleman, FAMU, punter, Minnesota Vikings, which was my team for a long time growing up. Then, of course, Jimmy Giles, tight end, Alcorn State University. And it's always interesting because when these lists come out and you look at the discussion about who's in, who should get in, some that are not in right now, but you're just kind of wondering, will they make it one day? And you look at the players and you look at the coaches that have made it, you've had some outstanding coaches that have made it in the Black College Hall of Fame. You've also lost some this year that, like a W.C. Gordon and a Marino Casson. So it's always a situation that the discussion that is had when you have these classes and inductees that have, made it, and then it kind of gets you to thinking about, you've been blessed to see a lot of these players and coaches, their craft. You see them on the collegiate level, then how well they moved on from the collegiate level to the professional level, and they've done an outstanding job. And some of them are giving back to their institutions as well. So congratulations to the six in the class of 2021. Going to take a break, first break of today's show. And then when we come back, I'll visit with Coach Omar Johnson from Jackson State University. Boy, he's been the head coach since 2006. And just going over his bio, very successful at Jackson State. 2 SWAC championships and 13 years in a row has taken the JSU baseball team to the SWAC baseball tournament. We'll visit with him very shortly. Take a time out. You're listening to the Carlos Brown Show on the Open Mic Broadcast Network and Spreaker.com.
Hello, this is Alonzo Hardy Jr., the president of the SWAC Alumni Association. The SWAC Alumni Association is an organization founded on December 10, 1999, at the Sheraton Hotel in Birmingham, Alabama. Its mission is to serve as a rallying ground for individuals who have made the Southwestern Athletic Conference the illustrious conference that it is today. Its membership is open to former student athletes who played in the conference in any sport, as well as to coaches, athletic administrators, staff members, game officials, and fans. Annually, the association holds a Legends Awards and Roast Banquet or luncheon where it honors individuals with Lifetime Achievement Awards, a Chuck Prophet Wackenmaster Award, and occasionally a Distinguished Service Award. Proceeds from that event help to finance degree completion scholarships for student athletes who have exhausted their playing eligibility at SWAC universities, but who may still need an extra semester or two to complete their college studies. For more information on the SWAC Alumni Association or to get information on becoming a member, you can send correspondence to SWAC Alumni Association, 875 Miller Creek Lane, Newport News, Virginia, 23602. The email address is swacalumuniassociation@yahoo.com.
Be the one with courage to fight child abuse.
All Texans must find the courage to fight child abuse.
Learn the signs and symptoms and report suspected abuse to appropriate authorities.
Learn and know these warning signs.
A child who undergoes changes in behavior, appetite, or routine.
Watch for unexplained injuries, a change in academic performance, or loss of interest by a child in regular activities.
Trust your instincts. If you suspect something, do something.
If you believe a child is in an abusive situation, please call the Texas Abuse Hotline at 1-800-252-5400.
Be the one with courage. To find your local Children's Advocacy Center, visit onewithcourage.org.
On behalf of children, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Be the one with courage to fight child.
I present to you 3 of the fiercest subjects ever assembled in the cage of doom. First, the brain-wrenching behemoth Algebra 2, weighing in at weighs a mind-boggling 800 pounds. Foreign languages! The multilingual international sensation capable of tossing you clear across the Atlantic. And finally, biology. More ferocious than formaldehyde, she'll dissect you one chromosome at a time. Who among you will step up to their challenge?
Yeah, I'll do it. Me too. I'm in. Sign me up.
Take on the tough classes now. You need them to prepare for college. Find out which classes you need at knowhowtogo.org.
Brought to you by the American Council on Education, Lumina Foundation for Education, and the Ad Council.
Welcome back to this week's edition of the Carlos Brown Show, heard exclusively right here on the Open Mic Broadcast Network. Visiting for the first time with head baseball coach at Jackson State, the University of Jackson State, I guess I should say it that way, head coach Omar Johnson. Coach Johnson, good morning to you, sir. How you doing?
I'm doing great. It's D I love.
Well, you can tell I'm not a Jackson State alumnus, but I also recognize outstanding programming. Just going over the bio with Jackson State, you've been there since 2006. SWAC tournament champion 2013 and 2014, and a 13 years in a row SWAC baseball tournament. Coach Johnson, why have you and Jackson State baseball been successful these years?
It's the athletes. We've been able to get good players. The coach always wants, gets a lot of the credit, but we've been able to get a lot of good players, and that helped with the consistency of the program. Outside of last year, we won 30 games in 13 of our 14 seasons. And that's rather remarkable for some of the resources that, we have. And then definitely being in this region, which is one of the toughest regions in the country. So we've been really fortunate with that to be able to get some really good players.
And speaking of this region and being fortunate to being able to do an outstanding job, now with this COVID going on, this pandemic, how tough has it been to continue to run a baseball program during this COVID-19?
Oh, well, it tests your ability. We with our program and some of the things we do, the fall is vital. Just getting guys acclimated to how we want to play, the pace of the game for us. But we a lot of Zoom calls, a lot of videos, a lot of meetings, with the guys over the phone. It's been different. It's really it's been challenging for us to figure out ways to communicate with the players.
Challenging, but still, you got to get the job done. Correct, Coach?
That's right. That's right.
Visiting with Coach Omar Johnson, head baseball coach at Jackson State University. With COVID going on, you just talked about that, but the outlook for your baseball team this year, what can fans look forward to with this year's baseball team?
Well, I think we'll be able to do a lot of productive things, exciting outlook. Before they shut everything down, last year we'd already stole over 43, 45 bases already. So it's a fast group of guys. There's going to be some guys that put some pressure on some teams. And, we had swept 2 out of the 3 weekend series that we played. So we were excited about that, and we returned most of those guys. So, and then we added a couple key pieces that should help us to stay productive and have a pretty good outlook for upcoming year.
Now, Coach, with that being said, you've got a new look coming on the horizon with Southwestern Athletic Conference baseball with the additions of Bethune-Cookman University and FAMU. Now, I know they're not strangers to you and Jackson State, but what does that mean as far as those two institutions coming into the Southwestern Athletic Conference and specifically baseball?
Well, you have traditionally two competitive programs, and I think it makes the overall conference better when it comes to baseball, because Bethune has been to several regionals. Last year, the year before last, actually Florida A&M went to a regional, so it gives us two really good teams and makes the conference that much more compatible.
And you've had some success, of course, Jackson State playing both institutions, but more recently, FAMU, correct?
Yes, we've been playing them off and on since I became the head coach here. We fared well against them last year, but they always have a really good team. Like I said, it's going to be more competitive with those teams entering the league.
Now, with that being said, of course, Alcorn State moving over to the Western Division. As far as baseball is concerned, are you guys still kind of meeting to decide how you're going to set everything up as far as, of course, not only divisions, but also tournament and just, the conference schedule? Or is that still a work in progress?
I think it's going to be some more meetings held. It's kind of a living thing right now, So I guess, once everything's settled, it's kind of strange times right now. So we don't quite know how and what direction that it's going to go into. But that Alcorn moving to the other side is just geographical. They're the closest. It makes sense to do that like that. So, but no, it's nothing is set yet. But I'm sure Dr. McCullum will come up with a good plan. With the coach's help, and we'll do what's best for the conference.
Now, coach's help, of course, the commissioner listens to and gets input from everyone involved. Is there a situation where Coach Johnson input as far as in the tournament, let's say 8 teams, more, less? Where do you fall on that situation?
I was here when Kadar was in conference, and we experimented with a lot of different formats for that tournament, and him and I, we had our battles about that. I want what's fair for the kids. I think the tournament is a reward for the kids' performance throughout the year. Adding 2 additional teams won't hurt the tournament. So I'm kind of for the student athlete experience. And, the tournament is a tournament. Sometimes people put, more weight on the tournament, and that's just one weekend compared to how well you played throughout the season. So I think the true test of a baseball team is that 14 weeks you play before you get to that one weekend to decide stuff.
Well, I was told years ago that you had to just, even if you could just talk to him off the record, but Coach Johnson, he puts a lot of emphasis on the regular season, and I've had animated discussions with some of my colleagues on tournaments and how many teams that there should be. But you just said something that I felt over the years is, more emphasis on the regular season. You've stood the test of time. You paid the price during the regular season, and you should be rewarded. And you mentioned about Coach Kadar and some of the coaches that you've seen come in this conference and have, maybe gone on. How is that, going up against other outstanding coaches in the conference? Is it something that you get a chance to appreciate and learn from?
Well, I was really fortunate that when I first started coming around, actually Coach Brady hired me. So having that experience. But Coach Ellis, still communicate with him. And Roger, Roger deserves everything he's gotten getting into the Hall of Fame. He did a lot for baseball. So, I'm really fortunate to be able to have competed against those guys. Rat McGowan, so I was here. I've seen a lot of change, a lot of turnover. But those guys held this thing together for a long time.
Yeah, I understand. Visiting with Coach Omar Johnson, head baseball coach at Jackson State University. Coach, you've just talked about seeing a lot of coaches and a lot of players. What do you think about if you've heard the conversation of baseball is the one sport or a sport that can really advance this conference, as far as putting it out there? Do you feel that baseball is that sport that can achieve so much in the conference?
I truly do. You just look at what every team in our league have been able to do during the midweek games. That's a true test. Every week you'll see one of our teams in our league winning midweek games, beating Power 5 conference teams. It's always an opportunity. Even us, you think about it, us in that regional in 2014, we win that opening game. We lose the next game to go to the championship 2-1, something like that. So we're one run from being in the championship game of the regional. Bethune-Cookman, they were in the championship game of the regional 2 years ago or 3 years ago, something like that. So, yes, I truly think so. I think we can actually compete at a higher level in baseball than most other sports. But tennis, I think we've done some real damage in tennis in our conference. So it's some sports can actually do it too. It's and anything can happen in basketball, softball, but consistently week in, week out, teams have to prepare for us during midweek games. It's not just okay, we just come in to play a team from our conference.
Dr. Prince, you had a question for Coach Omar Johnson.
Yes, sir. Good morning, Coach, and welcome to the network. I'm a baseball guy. I like to think myself as a baseball guy, and I heard you mention about the student experience, about welcoming as many teams that would fit. And with that being said, if we're going to go about the student experience from the way the tournament is set up right now, it's not a true double elimination tournament, because you could come from the loser's bracket and go to the championship game and you beat that person from the winner's bracket one time and you become the SWAC tournament champion. Is that good for the students?
That is good for the student. And it's a couple ways. First of all, no one does the double elimination championship game. It's very seldom. Most Division II conferences do that. We have that situation with ESPN, and that exposure right there is the only time during the year that we control our own narrative. So, because most of the time when we're on TV during the year, we're on the SEC network or we're on some other conference network. But right then, that is our total situation. If we go to a double elimination game, we lose that opportunity because ESPN is not going to televise 2 games or what if game. So that's one thing, because that's what happened to softball. They changed it and they lost that ESPN coverage, and we don't want to lose that. So yes, I think that single elimination game is productive for the championship game. Second thing, play on the field. Play on the field suffers when you go to extend it like that. Now the pitching, you always remember it's about pitching. So if you go that extra game with, at that time it'll be 9th or 10th game, the pitching is going to suffer, the quality of play is going to suffer. And then we want to televise it, something like that.
Okay.
Now that we're trying to actually promote our conference.
And to counter that, if we eliminate subpar teams making the tournament, wouldn't that balance that out?
It depends how it's set up.
Because
now you just said, you kind of contradicting yourself there. You said you want to worry about the student athlete.
No, I was saying
you want the student athlete experience, and I told you how it helps the student athlete experience. And then you said eliminate the team. Now we eliminate a set of student athletes that don't. I'm for whatever best for the conference when it comes to the students. Because it is an expense. But I understand what you're trying to get at. You eliminate the teams, you improve the play. I understand the rationale behind that also. But at that time of the year, it's going to have to be a good balance that we figure out what works. But with the championship game, you got to think about the Pac-12. They don't even play a tournament. They play straight, 16 weeks almost.
Right.
The West Coast Conference, they just take the best team from the North and the best team from the South, and they play a 3-game series for the championship.
I'm for that.
You know, so it's a lot of. I'm kind of for that too, but it's a lot of different ways to do it. We just need to figure out what works best for our conference and not worry about, you know, some of the other situations.
No, and that's what I was saying, because we have a unique situation that in some cases when we get into tournament play and it's not rewarding the team who was consistent during the regular season. Like you said, you play 14 weeks and you're balling consistently for 14 weeks. And we know that any given day, depending on, in particular with baseball, you could have the team that's not favorable come up win, but consistently they have to beat that team twice. And I understand the TV part of it. That's when I was talking about the student experience, not rewarding mediocrity, but rewarding consistency throughout the regular season. And then you advance to tournament play based on a quality record instead of just filling in slots to say we have a tournament. That's what I was talking about.
Right. That's a discussion that we'll have to have as coaches and at the conference level. But at the same time, I understand what you're saying. But a tournament is like the basketball tournament, the NCAA tournament. When it comes to basketball, baseball is not much different. You know, any team pops out there and have a good day, they have an open round, they can eliminate a team. It's happened. You know, I've you know, me and Roger, we've always had that conversation. And back then we were always for having less teams. I think one year him and I wanted I think 2 teams from each side to go.
Right. I was 4. You know, it was 4 and 6. I always balanced between 4 and 6 a long time ago.
Right. So, you know, that was a discussion that him and I, you know, we went back and forth. I just don't like buys because I don't think buys make it fair across the board. Everybody has a number one pitcher. You know what I mean? So, you know, you got to put your best strategy together. That's going to get you through that thing. It's a tournament. That's why they play a tournament. Anything can happen in a tournament. The worst team can win. The best team can stay consistent and win. It's not who's the best team when it comes to a tournament. Who's playing the best? That's all that's about.
Consistency.
Strategy.
Right.
And speaking of strategy, Coach Johnson, we often talk about, to wrap this conversation up, do you see this conference eventually would be the goal to get that second team and to get an at-large bid to get into the regionals?
Well, we're trying to come up with every kind of formula combination to kind of get that done. I was on the committee to pick the at-large teams a couple years back. Well, about 4 or 5 years back now. It's a difficult task. It's a difficult task. It's just I think we're going to get closer and closer every year. But it's something that we got to win games. You got to win games, you know. And some people try to put a math equation together. If I beat this team and we play against this team and the RPI end up, you know, you can come up with several ways. But it's very hard. It's very hard in baseball for any conference, not just our conference, but any conference to get an at-large bid.
Could you, and to follow up on that, could you think of one thing that maybe the conference can do in the next few years or sooner? One thing that could help in that direction, in that cause?
Well, if we eliminate the divisions and have everyone play everyone just like we do in most other sports in our conference, and we have one regular season champion, that puts more weight with that regular season champion. Now, if that regular season champion has 35 plus wins, now I can see a path getting the second team in if that regular season champion doesn't win that tournament. You understand? Now you got a champion crown, and then you'll have another champion crown with a tournament. So that might be one way to do it.
I think it'll be continued discussions on this, and I'm sure you guys agree and disagree, but you want a path that's the best way for this conference baseball-wise to be productive and to get better. So with that being said, Coach Johnson, continue to fight, continue to coach and coach well, and I've over the years have seen some good games between Southern University and Jackson State in baseball. I like that Saturday, Sunday, you're in Jackson one day, the next day you're in Baton Rouge. It's been some good baseball played.
Yep. We need to get that back going. So I appreciate you guys having me.
All righty. You take care and stay safe, Coach. Appreciate it.
Same to you. Thanks. Bye-bye.
All right. That was Coach Omar Johnson, head baseball coach at Jackson State University. I'm going to take a quick time out. When I come back, going to visit with Rod Walker. What's going on? We've just talked about JSU baseball and trying to move the conference, move it in a better place. But what about the Saints? That's a top story in the NFL, in my opinion. Who's going to be the quarterback today? Is it going to be Taysom Hill, the wild card, the athlete playing quarterback? Or will it be Mr. Winston? I don't know. I truly don't know what's going to happen, but the prediction is Taysom Hill will get the start. I'll visit with Rod Walker next of the New Orleans Advocate. You're listening to the Carlos Brown Show on the Open Mic Broadcast Network.
One voice. It can get the point across, but it only carries so far. Add a voice. It's richer, louder, but that has limits too. Add a third voice. It's even more powerful. Add another, and many, many more. And we are stronger than ever. That's the power of a community coalition. They help community groups, faith groups, civic organizations, PTAs, employers, and many others in your community organize their resources and focus them where they're needed most, like fighting to keep kids away from drugs. Ask a group that you belong to if they should belong to a community coalition. It's easy to get involved. Visit helpyourcommunity.org and they'll tell you exactly how your group can help. That's helpyourcommunity.org, because you get more when we get together. Brought to you by the Office of National Drug Control Policy and the Ad Council.
Welcome back to this week's edition of the Carlos Brown Show, heard exclusively right here on the Open Mic Broadcast Network and Spreaker.com. Next guest, Rod Walker, New Orleans Advocate. Rod, good morning to you, sir. What's going on?
Good morning, man. How you doing?
I'm doing all right. How about you?
I'm good, man. It was a crazy week in New Orleans, but we got through it.
Well, with that being said, I think this is an excellent opportunity. And you said it's been a wild and crazy week in New Orleans. Let's get right into it, Rod. I know your cell phone has just been popping. It's hot as fish grease. What's going on with the New Orleans quarterback situation? What's the latest?
Well, the latest is, obviously everybody knows that Breeze is out, and he was put on injured reserve put on injured reserve yesterday. And
yeah,
the way injured reserve is set up now is that means that you have to be out at least 3 weeks. So, I think he'll probably be out longer than that based on what the injury was with the fractured ribs and the collapsed lung. But the injury reports came out yesterday also that Taysom would be the starter. And I think that caught some people by surprise. There was some national media that reported it. And we talked to Sean Payton yesterday after practice, and he wouldn't confirm it. He just basically said he wasn't naming a starter, but all indications are that it's going to be Taysom. It'll be the first time Taysom started since 2016 when he was at BYU. So It's kind of interesting because, last week we saw Jameis, when Breeze couldn't go in the second half, Jameis came in and played quarterback. So I think everybody just was kind of under the assumption that Jameis would, continue that role. And we still don't know for sure, but it sounds like Taysom's going to start just based on those national reports. So.
Yeah. Rod, I looked at some of the footage, and of course, Coach Payton very well. I didn't know what to make of it. He was basically saying, well, it's really what he wasn't saying. He didn't confirm it, but he wouldn't deny it. And he basically was saying, we haven't made a decision, but I think he had made a decision. He just didn't feel like stating it at the present time.
Yeah. Yeah, because he actually came out and said that. He said they have made a decision, and basically the team knows the decision. He just didn't want to say anything publicly. I think a lot of that he wants to make Atlanta, make them prepare for both quarterbacks as much as possible. And obviously those are two quarterbacks with two different skill sets, I guess. And I think Sean just kind of used it to his advantage. And in this game, every advantage counts. And if you got Atlanta having to spend time worrying about two quarterbacks instead of one in practice, then that definitely helps the Saints out.
Well, of course, you cover the Saints, and would you be surprised in the opening snap that is Hill, at quarterback, or who would it be?
Yeah.
Winston at quarterback. What does your gut tell you?
I think those reports, I think there was something to them. So, I do think Taysom's going to start. I think he's going to start. And I think if it doesn't work, I think they may have to go in a different direction. But I do think Taysom will get the start tomorrow. And I don't know how important is actually the start. That's not really important. You want to see who's going to get the most snaps in the game. So I don't know who that'll be, but right now I think it's going to be Taysom, just kind of based on those reports. I think those people.
Okay, so
some people on the inside. Yeah, go ahead.
No, I'm sorry. So, it's a multiple choice. Is it A, B, or could it be C? C being, could you see both of them playing? The high probability of that happening.
I sort of feel like if Taysom's not moving, getting it done in the first half or first quarter, I think they may have to make a move. I don't know if you take the chance of just flipping those guys back and forth though, because you just don't want to you get one of those guys hurt, then you're really in trouble. So that's the thing about it to me. I just think, and they did sign another quarterback yesterday, Trevor Simeon, who was the backup. He was on the practice squad in Tennessee, but yeah, I just don't know if you can afford that risk of playing both of those guys, and then you're stuck with one quarterback who really knows the offense.
Well, it's interesting, Rod, that this time, a situation that happened last year with Teddy Bridgewater coming in and leading the team to victories, being undefeated. And now you have the situation again. This time, I think more severe, maybe, with Drew Brees. And the speculation always was this maybe was going to be the last year, this year.
Yeah.
Can we safely say now that probably this will be his last year in his career?
Yeah, I think so. I think this is one of those injuries that you realize that, hey, man, I just can't continue to do this. And I think what happened last week, and actually, the injury was kind of lingering even before that. I think that's going to be enough to make him, shut it down. And you know what? I'm not even sure. We're kind of optimistic he's going to come back, but I think those injuries are for a 41-year-old guy. I don't know how. This isn't like a finger that you can. You can do some physical therapy and work your thumb out like you did last year and get back and rush it back. But, ribs and collapsing arms don't work like that. So
yeah.
I think it's going to take him. I think it may take him a little longer than these 3 weeks if they got him on the IR for. In worst case scenario, you might not ever see Brees again on the field. If it's, what we got? 7 games left? Yeah, so, you just never know, man.
Yeah, it is something that you're going to have to think about. You're a Saints fan, and what he's meant to the Saints organization, and basically what he's done for the city of New Orleans. Although he's had a few hiccups as of late from a social standpoint, but but on the field, he's meant the world to the Saints. And with that being said, Rod, Winston, I go back to him. People talk about the interceptions, the eyesight problem that got corrected. As much as those 30 interceptions that he's thrown, he also had success. Where does the future of the Saints organization, where does this go for us quarterback wise?
I don't know. I think, and I actually have that's kind of what my column is about tomorrow. I mean, that's when we'll get some answers tomorrow, and we won't get all the answers. I mean, you can't base it all on one game, but
right.
If Taysom can't get it done, I mean, Sean's been saying that Taysom's that he's the guy. He thinks he can be a starting quarterback, and if he doesn't look good tomorrow, I mean, it may be time you have to turn to a guy like James. So, James threw 5,000 yards last year. I mean, that's a lot of yards in the NFL.
Yeah.
So I think in these next few weeks, while Breeze is out, we're going to know a lot about the future of the quarterback position. And again, if Taysom gets in there tomorrow and gets it done, then we have to say Sean Payton was right all this time saying that Taysom was the guy. But I don't think most of us, me included, I mean, we just haven't seen enough from him as far as, I mean, we see him go in for certain packages that are made just for him, but we want to see if he can lead an offense for 4 quarters. So, tomorrow might be the day he gets the opportunity to finally do that.
Yeah, and from a physical standpoint, Hill is a big guy. He's fast, but running a wildcat or square type of offense, and you hear about maybe the packages that they put in and for him. Basically, I don't know if he's going to last long doing that. For 4 quarters. I know you have so many possessions in the football game. It's going to come down to me whether he can complete passes consistently in this ball game, and I think they're going to lean heavily on the run with him adding to that. But you're right, Rod. It's going to be interesting to see. One game doesn't tell the whole story, but it'll give us an inkling of.
Right, and that's what we've been waiting to see. Everybody, Sean's been talking about Taysom, so we want to see, and it looks like we're gonna get that opportunity. And I don't know. It's been a long time since I've been looking forward to a game this much. Not because of big implications of what happens, Saints win or lose, but I think we want to see Taysom, see if he's legit.
Well, you still have weapons. I still want to see if Michael Thomas is kind of getting into that football mode. Just so much to see because I've made the statement before, Rod, and a very good regular season team, but as of late, disappointing in the playoffs.
Right, definitely disappointing. And even tomorrow, I think tomorrow could be one of those games where Taysom, let's say he doesn't play well, but I think the defense right now is playing so well that, they make him carry him and Taysom, At the end of the day, winning is what's important. So that could very well happen tomorrow too. But we still want to see this. That won't work in the playoffs. I mean, plus you got to be able to move the ball at some point.
Yeah, and I understand it. So with that being said, you think the Saints successful tomorrow? A rival game with the Falcons? Oh boy, you just don't like the dirty bird, do you?
It's tough, man. I mean, the Falcons are 3-1 since they made the coaching change, and they're playing really well now. The defense is playing well. One of my biggest concerns, and it's sort of gotten overlooked because of the quarterback situation, but Marshawn Lattimore is questionable for the game because he's dealing with an abdomen injury, and I always thought that Marshawn was like the one player on this team that the Saints couldn't afford to lose on defense just because of what he's able to just lock other defenders down other receivers down. And now here you are playing against the Falcons, and we know all the weapons they have, and they're a really dangerous team. And they're 3-6, but this isn't just typical 3-6 team. And you go back to that Cowboys game, if Atlanta gets on that onside kick.
Yeah,
Atlanta's they're 4. They'd be 4-5 now. So this isn't a bad football team they're playing tomorrow.
And Ron, and speaking, you mentioned defense. Listener wanted to know, does Quan Alexander replace Alazan at linebacker? Because he played Alexander played quite a lot last week.
Yeah, he replaces him now, and I think Alexander Long is still a guy that's going to come in and he'll be subbing in a lot. But yeah, I think, and just talking to Sean and talking to DeMario and some of those other guys during this week, they were really impressed with Quan. And the one thing he talked about is how much passion he played with and how fast he was. DeMario was he was just shocked how fast that Quan was. And DeMario was a fast guy too. So I think they definitely upgraded at linebacker, bringing Quan in. That's one of those moves that's going to make the defense, even better.
Well, I think tomorrow you're going to try to limit the explosive plays. I don't want to see Julio Jones just going wild tomorrow. Right. I think the Saints will lean heavily on the run. And I'll have to just say it this way. The quarterback position now, you don't want them to hurt you with turnovers and interceptions and manage the football game.
Right.
And speaking of that, Go ahead, Ron.
I was going to say, I think it's Taysom had to throw the ball 20 times or something like that. I think 18 to 20, I think the Saints are probably in really good shape, but because that means they're running the ball well, and that'll help. So I don't want to see Taysom drop back and have to throw the ball 30 times in a game. I don't think that's a good formula for success for this team.
Oh boy, I shudder to think on that one. Visiting with Walker.
Which would be more passes he's thrown in his whole life. He's only thrown 20 passes in his whole life as an NFL player. So you don't want him to have to come out and throw 30 in one game.
Oh, I think I'll be having a glass of my favorite beverage by the second quarter, maybe tomorrow. Shudder to think about that. If we could transition, and once again, appreciate your time as always. Over to the Pelicans. Last time we had you on, you it wasn't a done deal with Stan Van Gundy. Now he's a head basketball coach, and then the Pelicans went into their draft, getting a young man from Alabama University. What is the feedback you've been getting? I see you on social media and every place. What's the feedback you've been getting with the Pelicans?
Well, I got a chance to talk to a lot of people who were close to the point guard they drafted. And, they talk about his work ethic and how quick he is. And this is a team with so many point guards. You just don't know where he's going to fit. You got Lonzo, you got George Hill, you got Bledsoe, you got Nikhil Alexander-Walker, and now you got Kyra Lewis. This team is
trade based.
Somebody's not going to be here. I don't know who it's going to be. And I think losing Drew is going to be. I think the trade was good. I think both teams got something out of it. I don't know how much the Pelicans are going to miss Drew because he did so much on both ends of the court. That's what people always talk about how good of a defensive player he is. And it's going to be different without him. But when you look at all the draft picks the Pelicans got out of that deal. They brought in a guy in Bledsoe who's actually a good defender. Bledsoe was second team all defense this past season. So I don't know if he's going to be here, but they did. They didn't get a guy who can play on that end of the court. So and then you look at what they did last night. They bring in Steven Adams, who I really think could do really well with a guy like Zion because that's a pretty strong front line with Zion and Steven Adams. So that's a big man.
Right, but was that a move because Favors went back to Utah, so they were able to pick up Adams from OKC?
Yeah, they had to find a center. With Favors gone. Jaleel Okafor, he signed with Detroit yesterday. So yeah, they had to. Generally, you don't want the team going into the season with Jackson Hayes on the center, and I think Steven Adams I think he'll do a good job. I mean, he averaged I think 10 and 9 last year or something like that. But I think he's a guy who can come in and just clog up the middle, and that's what they need. And that's what they. I mean, they still got to find some shooters, I think.
Yeah. Well,
you
got a veteran coach in Stan Van Gundy. Some people thought maybe, that's the type of coach you need, a veteran coach, hard-nosed coach, because you got a young, talented team. Ingram still is looks like he's going to stay in New Orleans.
Yeah. I mean, all indications of that. I mean, I expect that to be. We actually thought it would get done yesterday, but it didn't. But yeah, I don't think keeping Ingram is going to be a problem at all. And you look at this roster; they don't have. They lost a couple of guys on Kenrick Williams and I ain't gonna draw a blank here, but anyway, basically they don't have any players from 2 years ago now left on this roster, and that's assuming like each one or more. Now those guys don't come back either. But I mean, this is a really young team, and it's like they're just a new. It's basically like they're starting over, but they have some quality guys they're starting over with. I mean, Randall was an all-star last year, and I think the whole key to all this is going to be how well Zion plays. I mean, he obviously wasn't healthy much of last year, started off with knee surgery, but if he comes back healthy and shows what we saw flashes of, I think this thing could be really good. I don't think they might not be good this year, but I think they set themselves up well 3 or 4 years down the road with all these draft picks they have, and they're able to make some moves.
Yeah, you can do like the Celtics. You can have all those potential picks and trade bait in your pocket, and you can use them at any time.
Right.
Going to be very interesting. The Pelicans, I must admit, I'm intrigued. It's intriguing. Maybe they might be my second team to follow in the NBA. Last but not least, you get your thoughts on Clay. Out again. That is, man, you're talking about, that's just tough.
It is tough, man. I think about like DeMarcus Cousins who went through back-to-back injuries, and yeah, that's really tough. I mean, Golden State was a team that you put with Clay and Steph coming back this year, you kind of put them right back towards the top anyway of the Western Conference. And now I don't even know if they're. Maybe a playoff team if Steph's healthy, and I still got Draymond, but they're not as dangerous without Clay. I mean, he made such a big difference, and you always hate to see that for any player.
Yeah, boy, tough situation to say the least. Well, Rod, we appreciate the time as always. It's going to be interesting. Taysom Hill gets the start for the New Orleans Saints. Winston, I thought he would be the guy that got the start, but hey, Coach Payton, he'll live and die. He's a high roller gambler. Sean Payton. If it goes well, he will be praised. He will get all the credit. Right. But if it doesn't go well, he'll get all of the blame, and deservedly so. Right.
And this is a crucial 4-game stretch this team has. With they got Atlanta twice, and Denver's mixed in there, and then they go to Philadelphia. So I mean, none of those teams have winning records, but none of those are guaranteed wins either. I mean, Falcons could very well win tomorrow. They're like I said, they're a dangerous team.
Yeah. I think the Saints need to either draft or free agency, but they're going to have to really look at the quarterback situation in the future, because the future is here now.
Future's here. It's here, right? That's right. It's definitely here. And that's why these next few games are so important. I mean, you got to, again, if Taysom can't get it done, or if Jameis can't get it done, then the Saints don't know that, okay, our quarterback is not on our roster. So, and at that point, you got to find somebody else. And again, I do think, I haven't seen enough of Taysom to make a judgment on it, but I think James can get it done. I mean, again, he got this for 5,000 yards last year on an offense that they have some weapons, but I don't think that Bruce Arians is Sean Payton. I just think Sean Payton is, I think he'll put James in the best situation and make sure he can make the plays that he likes to make.
Well, we shall see. Continue to be safe, and we'll talk again real soon, Rod. Appreciate the time.
Yeah. No problem, Carl. Let me know, man. Anytime.
All right. Thanks a lot.
Right.
Rod Walker, New Orleans Advocate and NOLA.com. And, boy, I should have asked him about that Tulane game the other night. Wow, was that wild. Hail Mary pass by Tulsa to send it in overtime, and then you're losing on a pick six. Unbelievable. You live long enough, you watch enough sports, you'll see some of everything. You'll win in an unimaginable way, and you'll lose in an unimaginable way. I'd rather have more wins than losses. Take a quick time out. Coach Pettaway, I guess I'll try to get him. I want to get his thoughts on a couple of things, and then we'll wrap it up with Charles Edmond. You're listening to the Carlos Brown Show on the Open Mic Broadcast Network.
I present to you 3 of the fiercest subjects ever assembled in the cage of doom. First, the brain-wrenching behemoth, Algebra 2, weighing in at a mind-boggling 800 pounds. Foreign languages! The multilingual international sensation capable of tossing you clear across the Atlantic. And finally, biology. More ferocious than formaldehyde, she'll dissect you 1 chromosome at a time. Who among you will step up to their challenge?
Yeah, I'll do it. Me too.
I'm in.
Sign me up.
Take on the tough classes now. You need them to prepare for college. Find out which classes you need at knowhowtogo.org.
Brought to you by the American Council on Education, Lumina Foundation for Education, and the Ad Council.
Can you feel it? Yeah, I can feel it.
Yep,
Thanksgiving is around the corner, and I'm going to visit now with Coach Van Pettaway here on the Carlos Brown Show. Coach Pettaway, good morning to you, sir.
Hey, good morning, Carlos and everyone. I hope everybody's doing well.
Doing well. How about yourself, sir?
I cannot complain. It doesn't do any good to complain anyway. I'm doing okay.
Well, I'm sure, and I appreciate those words, and I know Thanksgiving is around the corner. 2020 has just been, it's been what it's been. You know,
right. And I think this year more than any other year, we need to be thankful for just life itself.
Yeah, and we still think about loved ones that have been lost, either by the pandemic, COVID-19, or those who just gone on because it was time. Oh, yeah. We don't forget about them as well, and Thanksgiving. I'm sure you're going to have a nice menu for yourself this upcoming Thursday. And you know, Coach, we talked about what should have been, what we're accustomed to in our number one. This is a rivalry week in football. That's now different because, of course, the pandemic. But with that being said, we're still blessed. We're still blessed.
Yes, we are.
With that being said,
the other thing too, you're ending with football season would be winding down on a normal year, and we'd be getting ready to crank up college basketball. And this is the week, the 25th, that they are allowed to start basketball. And a lot of people are looking forward to it, and I think there are going to be a lot of changes, and I think the teams that can adapt to the different scenarios that they will be faced with this year will be the ones that will come out on top, because this virus is still out there, is still making changes in the athletic landscape, and so the team that can make the adjustments will be the ones that will come out on top.
Interesting that you say that, adjustments, adapt.
Yeah.
And speaking of that, Alabama State, I know you get your thoughts on a couple of things. Alabama State decided as an institution to say, hey, we're just going to play conference games. Your thoughts on that?
Well, I can't blame them. And I don't think anybody should blame them for wanting to look out for the safety of their athletes and their staff. And in fact, Carlos, because of the way this virus is going, you might end up seeing some other schools do it. They might end up doing it, but they'll be forced into it. In other words, if the virus hits a team and they got to shut down for 2 or 3 weeks because of that, then they may say, well, let's hold off and just wait until the conference schedule. So that I applaud Alabama State. These are non-conference games. It's going to be tough on Coach Williams now. You know, he this is his first time as head coach. I know he's disappointed, but I know at the same time he's looking at his safety, the welfare of his staff and his players. So I applaud Alabama State for making that move. But that hasn't stopped him. You know, if you notice, Coach Williams in Alabama State, they signed 2 kids during the early signing period, and that's a great move. That's a great move. They got a 6'8" kid out of Gary, Indiana, and then they got a top 6'3" point guard out of Texas. And this kid, he's got the winning DNA in his system. He's led his team to 2 state championships. So, they're not just sitting on their hands down there. They may not be playing, but on the court, but they're doing the other things to make sure that program is ready to go when they can play.
And that's important. You know, you're still doing the harvesting.
Right.
You know, right now. And let's say this time next year could be a whole different scenario.
Right.
Could be a lot better. But Alabama State did what's best for them, and you're right, Coach. I think you will probably see this happening again.
Right, and that's just like today. You know, when you're speaking of the virus, they just canceled the Florida State football game. So, this virus, and then with these schools tested, and I'm quite sure it came from tests. Remember, they were supposed to test the day before the game, and they probably just got some of the results back this morning. And so that, just that quick, they had to say, hey, we're not playing. The team's already in the city to play. They're already geared up. They're already at the stadium, but they can't play. And in basketball, same thing's going to happen. I've on our conference call this week for the NC2A, that came up. They talked about how some of the smaller schools were going to have a problem when it came to testing these athletes. Because they brought up a scenario like with the SWAC schedule, like you play Saturday, Monday. Well, that test has to be administered on Friday. Well, in the scenario that they gave now, that this is not what the conference has to do. This is just one of the scenarios that was brought up on Wednesday. You test the day before the game, and then you got to test again. You take that quick test the day of that next game, which would, in the SWAC case, would be that Monday game. That's the scenario that was put on the table for us on Wednesday. So that it's a lot of moving pieces to this handling of the virus, and I think the bright spot that we got, you've heard already this week that two of the pharmaceutical companies say that they have something that can be put on the market. Well, the sooner the better, because we need to be safe, and we need those vaccines for us to stop this virus. So they got the big word for this athletic season is adaptability. That's what everybody has to be able to do.
Yeah, and last week talking to Coach Woods, to me, he just seemed that it was kind of some frustration, being with COVID and then practicing, and then you have to stop, then you have to start back, and but it's just one of the things they have to fight through it. So when you say being able to adaptability, being able to adapt, that is going to be a key word.
Yep.
Well, the program who's able to do that well will put themselves in a position to be successful.
Oh, yes.
And speaking of that, also news as far as the NCAA decided to just have Indianapolis, Indiana, and the geographical area around Indianapolis host the NCAA tournament. Your thoughts on that?
I think it's a smart move logistically. I would love to see how they're going to pull that off. If you're talking about all 68 teams, you got two fine basketball facilities in that city. Then you got IUPUI also, which is Division I school right there, and then of course you got Butler, right there in Indianapolis. So you've got some facilities that can be used for the actual games. I'm more concerned about how many teams are you going to have in the city at one time, and them being able to isolate or be in a bubble situation in terms of the hotels and that kind of thing. You know they got them when they can host the actual Final Four every year, but that's going to be interesting because that would mean that if they're going to try to do that bubble situation, that means that the city of Indianapolis won't have their regular customers coming in. Because if you got that many teams in there and they've got to hold on those hotels and stuff, that's going to be interesting. And then at the same time, if they attempt to bring the Final Four, the Final Four is there, and having all of us there, that's a lot. That's a lot. That will be a lot. But I think they can do it. It's the right concept. I think they, in their minds, they're doing it the right way, trying to bring everybody to one location. So I applaud the NC2A for coming up with that idea.
Yeah, and they're going to have to continuously work, and evaluate what they're doing, a 6-18 tournament. Now, for HBCUs, doesn't that mean now no play-in games? How do you think it's going to work out?
Well, they can still play the first four like they've been in the past. It was in Dayton, but they can still do the first four. They'll just probably change the dates.
Okay.
Yep, that would be the easiest thing to do. But then again, our HBCUs could get the automatic. They may not have to go to the play-in game.
That's kind of what I was hoping.
Right. It depends on their season, but here's the thing. If we just go on our conference records, that's not going to fly because our RPI would not be high enough. So it's going to have to be it's going to have to be a school who's been able to play that non-conference schedule. And then that will raise their RPI. Yeah. But if we just play league, if we just go on league games, our RPI would not be high enough for you to get out of the play-in game.
Yeah, and as of late, that's happened only a few times.
Right.
Where they didn't have to be in the play-in game.
Correct.
But for the most part, yeah. And we've had discussions on that, how that can not be the case, but it will require, as a conference, everyone elevate their non-conference schedule and then winning some games.
Correct.
But I'm sure that conversation will come up again. Coach, if you were a consultant and you're consulting for Golden State right now, and maybe you've had to deal with this before on the collegiate level, of course, I'm not sure, but where I'm going with this is this. Klay Thompson, had a serious knee injury.
Yep,
missed the whole season. Then working and trying to get back to some sort of form. And then, boom, Achilles tear. Is there anything you can say to a professional athlete like Clay in a time like this?
Well, yeah, but you better be saying plenty of things to him. You better be encouraging him and letting him know that you're still in his corner and that we will help, as an organization, we will help you see you through this. And we're still waiting on you to come back. But in the meantime, we're going to add another piece to this puzzle so that we can be ready for you when you come back. So they'll go out and find another guard that can help them to get through this. Because he's young enough to where this Achilles injury should not hurt him. In other words, they think that he should be able to come back from it. It's going to take time. And because he is not one of those guys that has to live off his athletic ability, he will be okay. In other words, what I'm saying, Clay is a jump shooter. His form on his jump shot will still be there. All right? He's not one of those high flyers. If he was a high flyer, an Achilles could be almost a death sentence. Because this is the same type injury that Kobe had. Now, Kobe wasn't a real high flyer after that injury. He could still score because he modified his game. He played more like what Michael did. Michael got in the high post and played with his back to the basket and, relied on that turnaround J, and that's basically what Kobe did. Well, Thompson's a three-point shooter. He'll still be able to get that shot off because they'll set picks and stuff to free him up. He's never been one that put the ball on the floor a lot, so that's not going to hurt him. But at this time, as a consultant, as a team member, as a staff member, we just talking to him to encourage him so he can go ahead and go through his rehab, and we let him know that he's still a part of us, and we'll be waiting on his return.
And as I was listening to your answer, conversation on this piece, I forgot to mention, and thanks, Donald, all-black referee crew, Monday night NFL football this coming Monday.
Right, that's a great move. That's a great move. NFL is saying that we're going to do our part. We're going to do our part, and that's great. Long time coming. At least it's here now in 2020.
Yeah, historic in its own way. Very historic. Interesting.
Now the draft is over with now for the NBA. There were a lot of people speculating as to who was going to be the first pick and all this, and who was going to take who. I think I like everything that happened during the draft, except down your way. I don't understand why the Pelicans would take Kyra Lewis as a point guard when it seems like now they have an overabundance of point guards because they traded, they got Eric Bledsoe in there. So how's the young guy going to get his feet wet when you got at least three veterans in front of him?
Now, here's what I think will happen. Just my opinion. I don't think you'll have some of those point guards, those guards there. I think they're going to use them for trade bait.
Well, they better hurry up, then.
Hill, you got Hill. Oh my goodness, he's still playing. Wow, a seasoned professional.
Right.
I think they can. I think they can trade him, at least a couple of them, for some assets.
Well, they need some more shooters to go around Zion. If you had more shooters, his game would be better because people wouldn't be able to double him.
Well,
so yeah, they need to do something. Now, Kyra, I know him well. He lives maybe 4 or 5 miles from me, so I saw him grow up, and and play in high school and also on the collegiate level. So
they're
getting a good person now. They're getting a great person. Comes from a great family. I'm so proud and happy for them because his mother and father have always been there for him, and they're a nice family. So it couldn't have happened to a nicer person. And he's still young. You know, that boy should only be about 19.
Yeah, well, the future looks bright. Then, I mean, you would think, back to the point you brought up with the Pelicans. I think the veterans can be placed somewhere else via trade. You need, at least maybe you want to keep maybe one of them. Now, which one you want to keep, Bledsoe versus Hill? That can be a good mentor for the young men you're just talking about.
Right. Kyra, yeah. Somebody got to be there to help lead Kyra through his first year or so.
Yeah. So I think that's what they'll do quickly. The young man from Memphis. I saw him play. He was a freshman. And he ends up at the Miami Heat. My goodness. So, okay, I'm doing some research and looking at the gentleman that they picked up. Wouldn't that be a magnificent? In other words, I like the pick.
Oh yeah. See, look, anybody that's going to a contender, they don't have a lot of pressure on them because see, Miami could just slowly bring him along. They don't have to rush into anything because Miami is really not missing that much. So that's a great situation for somebody to be drafted in. And I think only time will tell. Pat will get them acclimated to the Miami Heat way, and then it'll be less pressure on the kid to get ready to play.
I've seen some early conversation about the best athlete. I mean, and this guy 6'9" from Memphis. You know, his college teammate went number 2?
Yeah, Wiseman. Yep.
Yeah, but this guy is, I'll just put it this way, very intriguing.
Oh yes.
I think he fits in. You don't want to say perfectly, but a good fit, an excellent fit.
Now, last thing on the NBA for me, you know somebody that everybody's sleeping on that they're not doing a whole lot of talk about. You still got DeMarcus Cousins out there, who's a center or a power forward for some teams who can really play. He's coming off an injury. It's going to be interesting to see who gets him and how much interest there still is in DeMarcus.
Let me get on the phone to the hotline to Pat Riley. I don't know if that'll physically gifted, come off Achilles tear, right?
Correct.
Achilles surgery. Mentally, let me back up. His mindset, sometimes people question.
Right.
You know, but from a physical standpoint, gifted. I think he can help somebody.
Oh, yes. Oh, you think he's going to the Rockets?
I hear Rockets.
Oh, yeah. Well, the Rockets got to get post players in there. Yeah, because remember, they went small ball. They went small ball, and that's why all of their small ballers are trying to get out of there.
Yeah. And the guy in management left. Harden's trying to get out of there.
Westbrook's trying to get out. Yep. That's rough on those guys.
Yeah, well, and they want to go to the East.
Yep. They see the path to the championship a little easier on the East side.
Yeah, well, I could talk a little bit more about the East side, but somehow there's a little disrespect, some would say, going on right now, how quickly people forget, you know. But every year, and they're getting ready to start right back up.
Yep.
That is going to be interesting.
Yes, it is.
You know, I wonder if there will be, because of not a lot of downtime, will there be more injuries? It's going to be an interesting situation.
Oh, yeah.
Well, Coach, appreciate the time as always.
Hey, well, thank you for having me, and everybody be blessed. Have a bountiful Thanksgiving, and let's talk another time.
Perfect. Will do. Take care, Coach.
All right. Bye-bye.
All right. That was Coach Van Pettaway here on the Carlos Brown Show. Take a quick time out. Let's get Charles Edmond. Charles would be getting ready to call a game today under a normal circumstance. Jackson State and Alcorn State. Maybe we can get him to give us a virtual play-by-play, but I guess somebody had to be Dean Barnes. Well, because Dean Barnes on the road games, he's the color analyst. Yeah, but you know what? I like Dean Barnes. He's transparent. He puts his feelings out there, and if it's a bad call, he's gonna let you know about it. On that note, take a time out. I'll be right back. You're listening to the Carlos Brown Show.
The Purple Drip Daiquiri and Grill is a restaurant to soothe your Caribbean taste buds. Located at 629 Sharon Street in Prairie View, Texas, the Purple Drip Daiquiri and Grill has a variety of options to choose from. Curry goat, curry chicken, stewed beef, jerk chicken, oxtails, barbecue chicken, pork chops, chicken tenders, meatloaf, hamburgers, nachos, turkey wings, fried chicken, and don't forget the sides. White rice, green beans, pork and beans, mashed potatoes, cabbage, rice and peas, French fries, and fried cabbage. The Purple Drip has convenient hours to satisfy any appetite. Monday through Fridays, 10 a.m. to 12 a.m. Saturdays from 10 a.m. to 1 a.m. The Purple Drip, we're dripping out the spot. Call and make your order today. 346-978-2875. That number again, 346-978-2875. The Purple Drip Daiquiri and Grill, Prairie View, Texas.
Welcome back to this week's edition of the Carlos Brown Show, heard exclusively right here on the Open Mic Broadcast Network and Spreaker.com. Charles Edmond of the Alcorn State Radio Network joins me now. Charles, good morning to you.
And it's 3rd down and 8 from the 24-yard line. The Braves and Texas State tied at 17. Felix Harper back to pass, rolling right, rolling, throws in the end zone, and it's caught. Touchdown with Charles Pringle. And the Braves have the lead. Boy,
very good. I like that.
Now, the question was, who was that against?
Oh, that's right.
Who was that
I'm
against?
horrible with details. I'm not detail oriented. And the Braves grab the lead against Jackson State University, and Coach Prime Time is living on the sideline.
Well, see, I knew I said this would be a Jackson State Alcorn game, November 21st. If all things would have been equal. Wow.
Boy, to be in Jackson State right about now, that would be something, boy. You're going to get some heat from that one, tall man.
Well, Charles, a little heat ain't bad sometimes.
No, it's not. Speaking of heat, it is kind of warm. It's a warm day. It's a pretty day. It's a perfect day for an Alcorn Jackson State game. And I tell you, if everything was normal, I tell you what, the beautiful campus of Alcorn State University would be a buzz of activity. You probably couldn't move. There's so many people, cars, tailgating. Man, it's amazing how times have changed.
Oh, now look at here. Oh, see, now somebody's trying to be messy. Who's coaching Jackson State? Now, wait a minute. And
he did say Coach Prime Time on the sideline. He did say that.
I did say that, yes.
So they got
wait a minute, but I guess he was doomed from the start, huh?
Oh, now I won't say we won't say doomed. Doomed is too harsh of a word.
Well, Anyway.
But he didn't say how much time was left neither. It could have been the first quarter. So, you know, you got...
Fourth quarter, 2 minutes left.
to extend it to a 3-touchdown lead.
I think it might be close with especially with JSU defense. I think it could come down to the wire.
Oh wow! Well, Jackson State gonna come knocking at your door, man. So bet you some protection.
I guess in 2021, the fall of 2021 and beyond, it could be very interesting. You know, some of the people that would have been here November 21st may not be at the next game. And we're talking about players, you know, it could be athletic personnel. You never know. But with that being said, there's also, Charles, some other games that will be going on today. Could FAMU break the streak against them in Bethune-Cookman University?
Yeah, that's I'm gonna have to do more research and learn that rivalry since both teams are joining the SWAC, and you know that's been an Achilles heel for Florida A&M. I'm sure Florida A&M folks feel the same way about that as the Jaguar Nation feel about Alcorn. That's one that's a thorn in Florida A&M's side for sure. I'm just a big Willie Simmons fan, and I'll just say this because I knew Willie Simmons. He was one of the first hires, Jay Hobson, when he became head coach at Alcorn, and we're still, and I'll say this, for the most part, still running that system today with a few tweaks. The structure of the puzzle is the same, the pieces are different. We're still running that system today for the most part, and so he took that system to Prairie View, where he had some success, and obviously scoring points at Florida A&M. So I just have a lot of respect for Willie Simmons and what he's done in 3 different places: Alcorn, OC, head coach at Prairie View, and Florida A&M. And I think that they're going to be a force to be reckoned with, I believe, when they officially join the league next fall.
And you're here to defend yourself or answer the question. But if I remember on a couple occasions, Charles Evans believes that it's not going to even be close. But pencil them in with green and orange Sharpies. Yep. They're going to be in there, and it's not going to even be close. Correct?
That is correct. As they say now, I said what I said, and
you said what I said. And Charles, love you to death, but I'm glad some people may not agree with what you just said. Because if you they're all who we thought they were. So if you want to hand it to them, hand it to them. But I wouldn't hand it to them. They got to earn it.
Yeah, I agree. I agree with that. But I will say this, and just not even knowing all the person, I just look at the schemes offensively. Now, Florida A&M defensively, they got some work to do, obviously, but they can score some points. They can move the puzzle pieces on defense. And if you look at the SWAC East minus Alcorn, if Florida A&M can score points like they have been, I mean, what team offensively, other than maybe A&M, but they're going to be without Glass come fall of 21, what other team in the East is going to be able to keep up with them offensively, assuming everything is equal? Of course, FAMU is going to lose some pieces. They're not going to play again until the fall. But I just think offensively, I don't know what team in the East could score the number of points as needed to keep up with them. Now, defensively, they might have some issues, and that might bring other teams to their level. But that's just what I see for right now. I might be totally wrong in 12 months. We'll see, but that's just kind of the way I look at it right now.
One. Now you think about someone else. Could it be, and based on, I've got to be very careful with this, but based on talking the part, could we see an improved JSU, or should we just hand it to JSU in the East? Can you hand that to them?
Not based on what happened last year. I mean, keep in mind. I mean, yeah.
No, I'm thinking about in the future. I'm being facetious here.
Right. I think there's going to be some work needed on that side of the ball. I mean, let's just look at Jackson State the last few years. 2 years ago, we were playing JSU for the Eastern Division, and they had the number one ranked defense in the conference at that time. We beat them 24-3, and it was a hard-fought game. JSU's defense has been okay, but offensively, they put the defense in bad positions with turnovers and mistakes. If their offense is not productive and puts more pressure on the defense, I think it's going to be the same issues. So I'm not quite convinced that offensively right now, as we look at it, JSU offensively is ready to match up with some of the offensive juggernauts like the Alcorns and the Southerns of the world that can score a lot of points right now. I mean, clearly with recruiting and another cycle, that could change. But as we look at it right now, I don't see it.
Yeah, well, I guess that's what I'm thinking. We don't really know, but 2021, 2022, everybody could be different. As far as the makeup of their teams, or will the teams that have been strong continue to be strong because of, outstanding coaching and staff, and although the years change, they just reload. But I just don't think you can just hand it to somebody. You make them earn it regardless. And I understand what you're saying, Charles, and you've been consistent. You believe it's FAMU first, second, and third in the East. You stated that the East will basically be FAMU and the other guys.
Yep.
Then on the western side, well, yeah, I mean, that's a prediction. I mean, you could be wrong, could be right.
Yeah.
But on the western side, Charles, it's like, oh my goodness, they're going to eat each other up.
Exactly. I think on the West it's going to be a dogfight. It's going to be dog eat dog. I mean, you just look at the offensive teams in the league on the West. You got Alcorn that can score points. You got Southern that can score points. You don't know what Prairie's going to look like, but that's
they can score points. Let's just put it out there.
They can score points. Grambling is a team that's capable. I think Grambling's my alma mater, and I love them. I love what Coach Fobbs has done, but offensively, it's been a struggle. It's since Kincaid left. And so I think they're going to have to rebuild. Now, they got this quarterback from New York. They say he's the best quarterback in the city of New York that they recruited. We'll see how that works out. I mean, so if Grambling can up their game offensively and defensively, they've always been in the top tier in the conference. I think Grambling will be tough. I mean, we don't know what UAPB or Texas Southern is going to look like, but the West is going to be a dogfight from week one, and there's going to be some key games. If you lose 2 games in the West, you're probably done. And I think the same thing could be said for the East. The game of the week in week one, February 27th, Alcorn at Alabama A&M. That game is a statement game early part of the season. Prairie View, Texas Southern, early part of the season. So but the West is going to be exciting to keep up with, and I'm looking forward to it in 2021 when we're officially part of it, just seeing these other pieces move around and see our teams improve or not.
And I've heard in this conversation, offense, explosions. But I still get back to which team will be consistent defensively. Because defense still wins championships, to me.
Well, I would say Alcorn again. I mean, Braves defense that sold up the deal in the SWAC championship game. Grambling, I mean, we know Grambling to say, well, we lost 19-16 at their place last year. And they scored a touchdown. They scored a touchdown with 30 seconds left in the game to send in overtime. We held them to under 10 points up until the last 30 seconds of the game. So I think Alcorn 1, Grambling 2. Dawson Odoms is still coaching up that defense over there 3. And then, you can kind of fill in 4 through 6 in terms of, Prairie View, they can score a ton, but they give up a ton. And you got UAPB, who was much improved offensively, but defensively still struggled. So, I mean, I think the top 3, clearly Alcorn. I think Grambling, 2. I think Southern, 3.
In the West?
In the West.
Oh, okay. I thought you were talking about overall.
No, I thought we were flipping to the West, just the top teams in the West defensively.
No, I got you.
Now, overall, we can go 1 through we can go 1 through 10. We can do that. Can we get okay? So clearly, okay. So I'll say Alcorn number 1. I would say Grambling number 2. I would say Southern number 3. I would say A&M, Alabama A&M number 4. And I think 5 through 10, Valley bringing up the rear. But, I mean, defensively, other than those top 4, you could take the other 6 and kind of throw them in the bag. You could take Alabama State. You could take UAPB. I think, 5 through 10, you can kick. Well, 5 through 9, you can kind of throw it in the bag, and whatever team you pull out of the bag, you can put in that slot. I think, this year wasn't great defensively, with the exception of a couple of teams.
Yeah. I guess I'm looking forward. I'm fast forwarding to, not that I'm disregarding the spring, but the way things are going, now the odds to me is under 50-50 that the spring will be played. And I can tell you just from some conversations I've had, I'll put it this way. If it doesn't happen, some coaches would be all right. They'll be all right regardless. But there are some coaches that are really saying, maybe August 2021, fall 2021 is the best approach. That's kind of what I'm hearing. But we shall see. We shall see. And then you've got the additions coming in. Things would be better from on the pandemic side. And can you just think about when you get through all of this, I think it's going to roll. I mean, people are going to be so excited to kind of get back to what they're accustomed to. Is it too early to talk about maybe attendance? But again, I know financially some have taken a hit. The institutions have taken a hit. But better days are ahead, Charles.
Yeah, there are. I mean, vaccines are on the way. Companies are developing that, and some better news on that front. I just think we just have to get through. This, and I think right now, I mean, the loss of March Madness revenue is hurting. Obviously, no revenue for the fall is hurting. Limited revenue in the spring. Talking with our AD the other day, and you're looking at right now 50% capacity. As of right now, of course, we're going with the governor's orders. No tailgating. That's going to be probably the case for sure. Because really, what school's tailgating right now? I think that's probably going to be the case. We just have to look forward to staying safe and hope we have some basketball, which is coming up in a few days. We've already got a game canceled with DePaul, December 1st. That game won't be played now. That was originally scheduled, but DePaul's got cases. So we got to take this thing day by day, week by week, and just see where we are.
Yeah. On that note, Charles, as always, appreciate you having you on. Continue to be safe.
It's another Braves first down. Everybody.
Good stuff. Appreciate it. Talk to you again real soon. Let's see quickly. Want to thank Coach Omar Johnson, head baseball coach at Jackson State, Rod Walker, Coach Van Pettaway, Charles Edler, producing today's show, Dr. Michael Prince. Be safe, everyone. Enjoy your special day next Thursday, and make sure you tune in next Saturday at 10 a.m. for another edition of the Carlos Brown Show, heard exclusively right here on the Open Mic Broadcast Network. Until that time, as always, peace and God bless.